Welcome to Midwest Paranormal Presents Paranormal Soup. I'm your host, Jason Bland, and tonight we have Rob Gutro. He is a medium, an author, a meteorologist as well. We're going to talk about, he has a book out there, Pets in the Afterlife, Volume 1 and 2. It's a really interesting subject. I had my own experience with a passed away pet, so this is this is something I've always been interested in, where pets live on after we die. Also, we're going to have the Skype lines available tonight. You can call in on the audio Skype line, which is OOJBLANDOO, or the video Skype line, where we can see you and Rob can see you. That is live or SoupLiveChat 800 live chat on Skype. All right, guys, we'll be with you in just one sec. All right, welcome to another night of Paranormal Soup. How you doing tonight, Rob? Glad to have you on. Sadly, we had to reschedule last time.
Doing well, thanks. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. Last time we were going to have Rob on, we had an ice storm, and it knocked out my complete internet. I had power, no internet. This time we've had no snowstorm today, and I was like, oh, don't do it to me again. But luckily, it's held out. So, all right, like we like to do every Sunday night is the World Wide Web of Weird. Rob, like I said before the show to you, anything you want to add in, your 2 cents on what we're talking about tonight, go ahead. And I got one last article you might have some 2 cents on, actually. So that'll be the last one. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get the World Wide Web of Weird rolling. All right, tonight on the World Wide Web of Weird, we're going to start off with a haunted hotel that has the world's largest Ouija board. Yes, this was quite viral and was going around the internet. When I saw the picture of this, I'm like, oh my God, that's a huge Ouija board. Well, it's on a haunted hotel. You think it's going to be a lot more haunted? We'll see. This comes from Unexplained Mysteries. The Grand Midway Hotel in Pennsylvania is home to what is officially the largest Ouija board on Earth. Built more than a century ago, the Grand Midway Hotel has managed to attract the attention of numerous paranormal investigators, authors, and television producers over the last few years. The Grand Midway Hotel was an old coal mining hotel from the 1880s, said filmmaker Blair Murphy, who currently lives in the building. I could recall countless ghost encounter stories from folks who have stayed the night here. It actually has been a fascinating place to live. Blair came up with the idea of building a giant Ouija board on the roof of the hotel after having his own experience with a regular sized board a couple years earlier. Things flipped out through the hotel, he said. It seemed to kick things up into the entire new level of paranormal activity. We were seeing floating people and hearing voices, and even the hotel pets were flipping out and reacting to unseen forces. The giant version of the board, which he built along with the help of 8 artists, measuring a whopping 121.01 square meters, even features its own giant planchette. The hotel roof was the massive blank canvas just waiting for the perfect project to present itself, he said. A Ouija world record proof was a perfect match for our place. So I'd be interested, if anything more activity-wise has popped up since they put this on there. And I'm curious, does anybody roll around the planchette on the roof and try to communicate with spirits? I would love to know. What they're actually doing with it, or just the artiste, piece of work. I don't know. It's crazy though. I mean, that's a huge Ouija board. I don't know if I'd want to mess with it.
So cool. I would take a rubber ball and just sit it in the middle. I'm guessing it would be get breezy up there though, but that would be pretty fun.
I would just sit my butt on the planchette and be like, all right, spirits. What are you?
Like an office chair.
Yeah. All right. Next up is another one. This one was on Coast to Coast AM. I got a few from them tonight. As soon as my article loads. This was an odd UFO event occurs over Austin. We were talking last week, and we're not going to play the audio from this, but if you go and watch this on my playlist, and if you're listening on the DNGN radio network to this show, it's a rerun, just so you know, don't call into the show. If you want to see the videos I'm playing tonight, go to the Paranormal Soup YouTube channel and go to the World Wide Web of Weird playlist, and you'll find these videos. This video, last week we were talking with Jim Harold about how newscasts cover UFOs, and if you watch this video, go watch it. It's totally just like we said. They even play the X-Files music just like we said they do. Something strange appeared in the skies over Austin, Texas on Monday night, and widely differing reports from witnesses only served to make the event even more baffling. Rachel Jensen told Fox 7 in Austin that she and her roommate spotted a trio of orange lights that seemed to be in a triangular formation. Although she tried to record the remarkable event, Jensen's video is ambiguous at best, but does show at least one of the glowing orbs. According to her, the objects eventually rose in altitude and sped away out of sight. Jensen was apparently not the only person to notice something out of the ordinary that evening, as 5 people from Louisiana and Texas called the American Meteor Society around the same time. The assessment of the AMS, based on the reports, is that the anomaly was a fireball, which is exactly what one would expect the American Meteor Society to conclude. Meanwhile, another angle of the event comes from a photographer who captured a slightly curved line of light descending over the Austin skyline. Taken together, the reports are rather puzzling, as Jensen described the lights as more akin to an intelligently controlled craft, and even outright told Fox 7 that I believe they were UFOs. Skeptics will likely say that Jensen is simply mistaken about her observation that what she perceived as the UFO flying away was actually pieces of fireball descending to the ground. Additionally, assuming that the AMS is not working in conjunction with a vast conspiracy to conceal the truth about UFOs, the determination that the event was a fireball does seem to coincide well with somewhat perplexing photograph. Another possibility that should be considered is that both events took place on Monday evening, with Jensen seeing a UFO while others spotted a fireball. Coincidentally, timing caused them to be conflated into one lone flying saucer flap. One final hypothesis, which argues that UFOs are conjured by the mind, is that all the witnesses were seeing the same event, perceived it differently based on their own personal perspective. I don't know about that one. All right, so we got another thing on the UFO front after that, I think. Yes, this one I saw quite viral. Is a man who purported to had been abducted, and this is a picture, is very blurry. You might want to look this up yourself to see the picture because it's hard to see. But this is an image from Google Earth. An alien blocked by punch. UFO spotters. ET abduction proof debunked. People are saying the UFO lights and stuff are explained, but nobody's explaining his little alien man he's fighting in this picture. If you zoom in on it, they show this scene here. There's this little just blurry image. You can kind of see his, him fighting off an alien, maybe. I don't know. A prominent UFO spotter claiming to have proof of once wrestling with an alien during an abduction has had his far-out recollections bunked by a UFO hoax buster. John Mooner from Devon in the UK told local press on Monday that the Google Earth satellite images show him clearly trying to fight off a gray alien by punching it in the face. However, a website focused on investigating ET sightings and conspiracy said the UFOs, which Mooner claims were captured by Google Earth, are in fact glass structures reflecting the sun. That's those lights shining you see there. The alleged UFOs are just a glass structure reflecting off the sun, from the sun, UFO interest told RT. If we search the previous old satellite images by Google Earth taken in the same area, we can see better these glass structures. The images have gone viral quickly, and it was easy for me to find the exact place on Google Earth. In its debunked UFO interest, provided Google Earth images matching Mooner's originals, but also presented 2 conservatories in the same position where Mooner claimed the UFOs were located. Mooner says he doesn't remember his alien abduction, but he remembered sporadic episodes of missing time throughout the year of 2016 and going back through the previous years. Looking at the image, it appears that the alien has blocked my punch and has grabbed my fist and must have been able to subdue me. The UFO enthusiast, who says he is the chief photographer of the World UFO Photos, has spotted a number of UFOs in his home in the county of Devon, and even claimed he witnessed one last week. It's not in this article. I believe he also had a ghost thing going on, some kind of ghost picture or whatever. So this guy's got a lot going on. Mooner made his abduction discovery after he was having trouble with his Google Earth app and tried Google satellite maps on his computer instead. I was left speechless by what I saw. The satellite has captured a real alien abduction taking place. The shocking thing about this was that it it's me being abducted by a gray alien, and the satellite image clearly shows me trying to fight off the gray alien by punching in the face. I don't say that's clear, but it is unusual. Not only did Mooner come to blows with an alien, he also said there was 3 UFOs flying toward him at the same time. That's what they've said they've debunked. The UFOs that appear to be at the highest altitude has a green light emanating from it and appears to be leaving a faint contrail with a red glow behind it, he said. The other 2 UFOs are glowing white. Those are the ones that they debunked. I think that UFOs were coming to pick me up with the gray alien, Mooner said. I was abducted and the satellite image is proof. You know, what this article says has been debunked. Well, I agree with them on their debunk of the 2 buildings and the reflective that he's talking about. But what about him fighting an alien? There should be, am I wrong on this? But anybody want to chime in? But when you have a Google image, he caught this, there should be a database where that image should be public to anybody, right? Somebody should be able to go find that image of him fighting off a gray alien. Am I wrong on that?
It should be there somewhere.
Yeah.
Once they update the images.
Well, if he got that image
Like
off the internet, somebody else should be able to, and then we should be able to go, well, he is. There's a picture that is a legit picture, you know, him fighting off an alien. I don't know.
I don't see if they can find a light pole, you know, in a place or whatever Anthony was talking about that day. Well, they should be able to match that up too.
Well, that's what I'm wondering. I mean, like, if they went and found out and debunked the whole glass structures, that's great. But what about, where's your debunking of, you know, they could easily go, well, this is the picture, the same picture he took, but there's no alien thing going on. He imposed it in.
Aren't they supposed to blur out any people, like any bodies, any people, anything like that for privacy? Don't people have to be...
Oh, they can't blur out everything. They can't blur out everything. You're talking to like a large map of the Earth, right? I mean, you can't just go around.
No, pretty much. No, they do. You can't have people like if you're there on the. Jeff and I actually chased a Google car around one day because he was like around here, and we like waved at it in between frames. Like when they updated it, we actually found the car, and us doing that, but you could tell they took it out.
I didn't know that. I don't know. It's just interesting to me if you know, this is a public, why can't other investigators go and go, oh, yep, there is a picture of him and this maybe possibly fighting an alien. I don't know. It's so blurry. That could be anything though.
Yeah, I think it's like that mind matrix thing. However, I can't pronounce it.
But you wonder, you know, could Google Earth capture an alien abduction? You know, just at the right time. You know, you're on candid camera, aliens. I don't know. All right, this next one has a little bit of audio for it. Sometimes we get some feedback, but we'll let you listen to a ghost playing the piano.
Yeah, good luck, guys.
Come on, guys. Check this in. Come on, guys. A few seconds to tell us where you want to go.
Yeah, give us a clue. Come on, and that's what I'm on camera. Let's go. Okay. Right, come on, guys. You really want to know where you want us to go?
And then the ghost hunters freak out. I love the digital distortion right when he's cussing. That's great.
Yeah,
that was perfect. Okay, Jeff, you can cut the audio because you know what's going to be next. It's like, oh my God, dude, look, oh my God. So this is Coast to Coast AM. This was on a number of sites. Watch Ghost Strikes Piano Keys. That's what you just heard. A ghost investigators in UK claims to have captured video footage of an unseen force striking the keys of a piano. After initially hearing the musical sounds during his visit to the building dubbed The Village, Lee Roberts positioned a camera on the instrument in the hopes of that it would happen again. Fortunately, his instincts proved fortuitous. I cannot talk. When the sound was made again on camera, with no one around in the near the piano. During a subsequent conversation between Roberts and his fellow ghost hunters, they marvel at the strange melodic moment and insist that no one was near the piano when the spooky scene unfolded. In an intriguing observation, Roberts offered up a unique theory about what the group had encountered. He noted that the numerous paranormal groups have ventured into the building in the past and often use a Ouija board at the piano to attempt to contact with spirits on the other side. As such, he proposed that the ghosts residing in the building may have realized that the piano could be used to show their presence to visitors. I also wonder if a rodent could be in that piano. I don't know. Possibly, you know, make that key strike or something. I don't know. I mean, it could be legit. I don't know. I'd be excited if I was an investigator and it happened on, you know, I'd heard it before, set up a camera and dang, there it is. I'd be excited. I don't know. But you gotta wonder if it could be something explainable too. All right. Next up we have is another one that was on Coast to Coast. I have a problem. When I was a young boy, I had a ladybug get caught in my eyelid and my grandparents had to like pull it out. And I have this thing where like anything near I can't even put eye drops in my eyes. I get freaked out by anything near my eyes. Well, this lady Oh, God. She is a Bosnian healer who licks eyeballs. Yes, she licks eyeballs. An elderly woman in Bosnia has developed a reputation as a healer in her community via her bizarre practice of licking eyeballs clean and sometimes curing them of ailments. The 80-year-old Hava Selbik uses her unorthodox technique to extract various pieces of debris, including bits of metal, glass, and sawdust, from the eyes of people who seek her help. Some even say that the woman healed their eyes of ailments that the doctors could not treat. Claiming to have helped over 5,000 people through her work, Selbik laminates that she was able. She will be the last eyeball licker in her family, and the tradition will not continue after she's gone. I wonder why. Like, Grandma, I don't want to lick eyeballs. I'm sorry, I can't do the tradition. I can't lick eyeballs. Unfortunately, I can't pass this to my descendants because my children are too disgusted to put their tongue on someone's eye. Wonder why. She revealed, likely to the surprise of no one. Nonetheless, there may be a chance that her work will continue into the future, as villagers have told her they plan to remove her tongue after she dies, so that they can continue to use it to heal those in the need. So they're going to use her dead tongue. Yeah. Hold still. We have her dead tongue. She's going to lick your eyeball, and we're going to cure it. No. Oh God, I can't even look. Oh, how do people let somebody lick their eyeball? I don't care what's in my eye. I'm not doing it. Oh my God. Oh,
Weird fetish, man.
oh my God. Whether people will make use of this, the severed tongue remains to be seen, as the thought of having your eye cleaned by a dead woman's tongue is even more unsettling scenario than the current one featuring the still living Selbik. Then again, as anyone who has had the maddening experience of having something small stuck in their eye for a long period can attest, desperate times call for desperate measures. Like I said, I had a ladybug stuck in my eye. My grandparents had to hold me down, take tweezers in my eye. I've been terrified of anything in my eyes ever since. And this I can barely watch this video. Like, I'm closing my eyes right now while I was looking down reading the article. Now I'm up, I have my eyes closed because I can't look. It just freaks me out. Oh God. Oh. All right. Last on the World Wide Web of Weird, and I thought, Rob, that you would be interested in this one. Not Rob from St. Augustine, but our guest tonight. This one is a eerie phenomenon over Mexico. Was reported on a number of sites. Eerie cloud appears over Mexico. People might know, we'll talk about in a minute. Rob is a meteorologist. So residents of the Mexican state of Michoacan, I totally butchered that, were baffled by the appearance of bizarre cylindrical cloud that seemed to sport a glowing center. The audio was seen by witnesses who rushed to document the site with their cell phones in numerous cities throughout the state. As one might expect, the spooky cloud spawned social media speculation that the anomaly was a UFO. Some imaginative individuals even suggested that it was an alien warning Mexico about Donald Trump, because that event took place on Inauguration Day. Of course, they had to get the good old Donald in there. However, one Mexican media outlet proposed that the mystery cloud was a giant pocket of steam that rose high into the air. Hopefully, a meteorologist will weigh in with a possible weather-related explanation should the steam pocket not hold hot water or hold water. I don't know. What do you think, Rob? Is that a UFO?
No.
I'm so shocked.
That's a common mid-level cloud, and it's just highlighted by the sunset.
But it does look like something that it's coming down like in Independence Day or something, I mean, if you were an alien craft and you wanted to use some kind of cover for your craft, a big cloud formation would probably be right on. But that's it for the World Wide Web of Weird. So let's get to our guest here, and we'll get him off the meteorologist chair and into his medium and author chair. Let's talk tonight. Let's see. Rob's bio here. Rob considers himself an average guy who just happens to be able to communicate with those who've passed. He calls himself a medium rare because he's still learning how to meditate for more messages. But he passes messages on when he gets them. He also is a member of the inspired ghost tracking team, Hanover, Maryland. He has been able to sketch out what a ghost or a spirit looks like and have connected with many people and dogs and cats. By trade, he's a meteorologist, so he tries to explain ghosts and spirits with science. He's had the ability since he was a teenager and has improved over time. In 2005, Rob's late puppy became the world's best canine communicator and inspired Rob to write his first book. Rob has worked with his Dachshund and Weimaraner. I can never say that because you have a dog. I can't say.
Yeah, it's a Dachshund and Weimaraner.
I am
The German dogs.
The German dogs. And I have German background. I can't say it. Rescue since 2008 and continues to do so with his husband. They have fostered many dogs, transport dogs through the Mid-Atlantic and do fundraisers. They have two, you say it,
Dachshund.
Dachshunds. I see Dachshunds. Dachshunds. That's why my mom loves that dog, and I still never know to say it right.
You can say Wiener dog. That
Wiener
works.
dog. That's how I know him. Is the Wiener dog. I had a cousin once. His grandparents fed their Wiener dogs plate scraps so much that it was just like a big, like blubbery mess and a little head in between. It was poor little guy. I felt so bad for him. It's like
Not
he never ate
healthy.
any of that stuff. No, it wasn't. I've actually rescued a couple dogs from those situations where people had dogs they shouldn't have. So I love it that you are part of dog rescue because we need more of it. Like I said, I helped rescue a pug that was like that, was overfed by people that didn't want it. Somebody gave a dog as a pet. You never give a dog as a pet to somebody. You know,
you mean
like,
as
here
a
you
present?
go. Yeah, as a present. Like, here's a homeowning gift. Here's a dog. You don't do it. You don't do it. But on to you and on to the show. So how you doing tonight, Rob?
Do well. I'm awake. That's good.
Yeah, I know you got to get up early, so thank you for joining me, and thank you for rescheduling for the third time. I am so sorry.
No worries.
So tell us a little. I read your bio, but tell us a little bit about yourself from your own words.
Well, really, I mean that just says it all. I'm an average guy, and just like anybody else. It's just that I hear dead people and dead pets.
Well, so how did that? You said I read in your bio. You've had it kind of since you were a kid. How did that start, or when did you realize that was going on?
Well, it was actually a shocking thing because I was 13, I was home alone, and 6 months after my granddad died, and I wasn't close to him, but he materialized in full color in front of me. So I grabbed the dog, I ran outside, and I sat there until my parents showed up.
How old were you?
I was 13. 13,
you said? Okay.
Yeah.
So that was your first like full materialization in front of you that you remember as you were 13 years old?
It was. And they really don't materialize in front of anybody very often. But
no.
And here's what's interesting. I realized this only a couple of years ago, that it was in July that my grandfather materialized in front of me. And that was the month of his birth. And spirits usually come back on birthdays, anniversaries, or holidays.
Very true.
So
very true.
Perfect sense.
I was talking about this last week with Jim Harold on the show about the ghost stories, and I said the most common, I think, paranormal experience for people is the witnessing of a loved one that's passed on, having that one last time to talk to him or appear to him. And like you said, your grandfather had just passed at that time and came through.
He had passed in January, and he came through in July.
Okay. But it was in the same year that it happened.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. So that was was that your like first paranormal experience that you really can think of that you had?
That was my wake up call. Yes.
That was your wake up call. And so did it just like, where did it take you from there? I mean, with experiences, did more of it seem to start happening after that?
No, not really. When you're a teenager, you're trying to figure out what life is all about. So I actually wound up blocking it for quite a while. And it wasn't until I was probably about 35, I wound up living in a haunted house in Bowling Green, Kentucky when I went back to school. And I realized it was haunted because there would be a knock on the back door every Tuesday morning at 2:30 in the morning.
Oh, wow.
And there was a motion light behind the house, and it never went on. And I kept sensing that there was a man standing there. So that was my second experience. And I actually wrote about that in my first book called Ghosts and Spirits. And what's weird is that I was studying one night, and I heard something in the kitchen, and there was no one else home. My roommate wasn't there. I walked in the kitchen, and all of the cabinets were open.
Oh, wow.
So I closed them. I walked back out, finished studying, walked back in to get a drink of water. All of the cabinets were open again.
It's like, hello, we're here.
I was like, I think the ghost is not outside.
No.
So, yeah.
Now, did you ever find out if anything ever happened at the house to explain like maybe some past history or somebody like, because you hear like when you hear something like repetitive, like it always knocked on the back door at 2:30. Sometimes that seems to be something residual and replaying itself, not an intelligent spirit so much. Now, unlike the cabinets being open, that's more like something that isn't residual, something more intelligent. So you always seem to have these mixture and hauntings. Did you ever find out if there was any history it could relate to any of those instances?
Well, there's a lot of Civil War deaths that happened around Bowling Green, so I really get the sense it was a Civil War soldier, and the knocking came from inside the house. Ooh. So he was inside.
Oh, geez. Yeah. So that you were 35, and that's when you started living in this haunted house. I lived in a haunted house about when I was in my early 20s, and I think that was for me too. Kind of like, I mean, I've always been in the paranormal. I've had a lot of weird stuff since I was a little kid happen to me. But you're right. When you hit your 13 to 20, you're kind of in the interested in dating and being who I am, and you kind of lose focus of anything spiritual, I guess you could say. So when you have it later, for me I was early 20s, but you were 35. Was that kind of like, okay, I have more interest, I want to learn more on this?
That actually didn't trigger everything. It wasn't until later. It was 2005 actually when my puppy passed.
Oh.
He was killed by a car, and
geez, so sorry. He
just communicated with me from that instant, and so many signs. He just opened everything up, and it was then that I realized that, okay, I need to really focus on this gift.
Right.
So,
may I ask, what type of signs did you get?
Well, first of all, the first sign was a musical sign, and spirits will often lead us to places or have us turn on the radio at a certain time to hear a certain song to remind us of them. And when I walked in the house after he'd been killed, we had put him in the back of my truck and drove him back to the house. I walked in and there was a song playing, and the lyric was the Garth Brooks, the dance song about a man who lost the love of his life and enjoyed the short time he had with him. And the next song that came on as I was getting everything ready to go to the vet was another song called Monday Morning Church by Alan Jackson. It was about a guy who's the love of his life passed away. And so
a lot of country songs based on that.
Yeah, I was listening to a lot of country back in 2005. So when we get to the vet, I was outside in the parking lot with a couple of friends who met me there, and standing beside a trash can. All of a sudden, we were talking about Buzz, that was his name, and the lid just popped up and flew, and there was nothing behind it rather.
Oh,
nothing
wow.
at all. So, and I sensed that it was him pushing that lid off, and I heard him in my head say, "I'm okay." So those were just the first two signs, but there were so many more.
What interests me when you've talked about, like, you're able to speak to the dogs, is that people might be getting messages from their animals like that after they pass, but they don't realize it because your dog doesn't talk to you in life. But on the other side, they can talk. You can hear them, like to have a conversation, kind of.
It's telepathic.
Well, yeah, I understand it's telepathic,
Yeah.
but it's like they have like a voice, or
more often than not, they actually show me pictures.
that's what I was wondering, if it was like more visual, because that's how you would think most animals would communicate.
I know what you mean by the sign.
Right. But that's how I'd picture if animals communicated, to be more visual.
So it's basically looking at things from their perspective.
Right.
And I can give you an example of that.
Yeah.
Recently, I received an email from somebody who lost their dog, and they said, "I would like to know who my dog is with." So I told them that their dog. I'm looking through their dog's eyes, and I'm looking at the person their dog is with, and I see an older man, and he's balding, and he's got white hair, of course, and he has glasses, and he's got kind of a bigger nose, and he's kind of stout, and I said, I'm seeing multiple pictures of him, but he's always wearing a checkered shirt and blue pants.
That's
And I
pretty
said,
specific.
yeah, I said, I don't understand it. I said, I'm sure he has a different wardrobe, but this is what your dog is always showing me. So I said, anyway, so I typed it and I sent it off, and the woman wrote me back and she said, "Oh my God, that's my grandfather. He only had a closet full of checkered shirts and blue pants."
Wow. I mean, like I said, that's really specific.
That's specific.
Yeah, you can't get any more specific than that. So, I mean, that had to be very comforting to that person. I mean, how would you know that? And to know that their pet's coming through. For me, when you first sent me an email about being a guest on the show, I was really interested because I had an experience I'm going to tell you about, and I'll get your take on it. My cat died. She was really like the first real pet I had. I had a puppy once, and she peed all over my toys and ate my toys, and my mom, he lasted 2 weeks. So Patches was my real first pet. The dog did not last at the time. I didn't get dogs till later in life. I became a dog person. So Patches was my buddy. She was a stray cat. We took her from my aunt, who couldn't have her anymore. But I was so happy, so thrilled. And I grew up with this cat, and she would always sleep in my bed at night. There was a time period where I went through something really dark, was I've talked about on the show as a shadow person experience. During that time, she stayed out of my room when this thing was tormenting me. And she died during the middle of all this going on. And I always felt this dark entity had something to do with it. She had, literally, and not to be funny, but I do say it, she died face down in a kitty litter. We found her face down in the kitty litter the next day. And I knew that whole time she stayed away from my room when this was going on. When this thing finally went away and was done, it was the middle of the night, and I think it was the first nights. This is probably about a month or two after it happened, after I finally felt this thing had left. I was like, I'm not a person to sleep with my lights on because the light bugs me. And I was having insomnia for those 2 months. So I'm like, I'm going to try to sleep with the lights off because I know that's how I used to sleep before this incident, and I'm tired of the insomnia. So I turn the lights off. I'm laying in bed. I haven't fallen asleep yet. And I suddenly start to hear this purring. And I'm like, what is that? I know I hear this purring. And that's what she would do. She would usually be in my room or come in my room. She'd scratch at my door at night, and I'd let her in. There was no scratching at the door. It was just the purring. She would scratch at my door. I really been freaked out because that's how she usually entered my room at night. But I heard this purring, and I look. I can hear it like at the end of my bed. I could see her just in the faint moonlight coming in to the room. I could see the outline in my Patches. I could see her. She was there, and she walked up to me, and I'll admit it, I'm a man, whatever, but I cry. I had tears coming down my face, and I just knew this was my moment to have with her. I'm getting emotional thinking about it, and it's been so many years ago, but this was my moment to have with my cat again. I missed so much. Mm-hmm. And, she was there, and I swear she was just letting me know I'm fine, because I felt guilty. I felt, I invited this dark thing in my house. And I don't know if it had anything to do with her dying. It devastated my parents. They couldn't even bury the cat. They were so devastated about it. I had to do it. My dad just couldn't do it. He was just too attached. And I was too, but I don't know. I just been the stronger one when it comes to those things. But seeing her, I felt like she knew I'd been suffering with that in my back of my mind with everything that happened. I'd been gone through a lot, and she came to me. And I know physically she was there, and then she just faded away. It was just then the purring was gone.
Yeah, it's actually not surprising to me that that she came back to let you know that she was okay. And the other thing she probably wanted you to know is that there was nothing but forgiveness because you harbored some guilt that wasn't necessary.
Yeah, well, the guilt was also what my parents were going through. My parents have dogs now, and I am deathly afraid of when those dogs will pass because I don't know how they'll emotionally take it. They're their babies, just like the cat was their baby. It was funny thing is 6 months later, on June 6th, Bull 6 Championship. This cat shows up at our door, looks just like our old cat, but just like her, and we took her in and named her Six. And she died almost the same mysterious way years later.
Well, that's there's no such thing as coincidence when it comes to spirit. So,
right.
What's interesting is that one of the ways that pets communicate with us often is by sending us to other pets that look just like them. I call them doppelgangers, lookalikes.
Oh, wow.
And it happens quite often. I was in Puerto Rico in 2009 with my husband. We were on vacation, and just walking down the street, and we had to pick up a direction to go, and I was drawn to go down one street. No idea why.
Mm-hmm.
I found out when I got to the end of it. There at the end of the street was a dog walker, and one of the dogs that he had was a Weimaraner. And I heard in my head Buzz, who said, "Dad, do you know what today is?" And it was the anniversary of the day he passed. So no such thing as a coincidence.
No, I wondered that. It's like never had anybody say that about pets and the doppelganger thing, but I've seen other people with similar instances of their pet dying and then this other pet coming into life that looks just like their old pet. And it's just coincidence how it came into their lives. I know 2 other people have similar instances like we did with the 6 showing up.
We got ours that way too. And the cat, it was the very next day, and the cat has the same mannerisms and everything.
And all I think about when this happened with 6 showing up, I had to show my parents the Stephen King's Pet Cemetery and be like, because it looks just like our cat, and that's what happens in Pet Cemetery. They bury the cat comes back. It's not a nice cat though, and 6 was a little more attitude-ish. She had a lot more attitude than Patches did. So I don't know.
That was the wrong movie to quote.
I always had the wrong movie to quote.
No, I'm just kidding. What's interesting, another aspect of pets in the afterlife is that people will say that their new pet will often have the same habit that their other pet who passed had. I find that happens quite a bit. And the reason is that it's not your pet that's come back reincarnated.
Right.
It's that your pet in spirit is still around you. So what they do is they actually train your new pet to do some of the things that they used to do in life.
Do you think like Patches had some sense in a hand or a paw in getting 6 to come to our house?
Yes, absolutely.
I've always wondered that.
Our pets also will lead us to another pet that we're supposed to adopt. I'll toss in another little story here. A woman sent me an email and said that her pet, her dog, had passed, and her dog's name was Bullet. So
good dog name.
Yeah. So she was grieving, and she said that she said that she was not going to adopt another dog. It was just too much, too emotionally devastating for her. So one day, probably about a couple months afterward, she was driving by an SPCA shelter, and she just felt the urge to just stop the car. She walked in, and she said to me that she didn't know what she was really doing there. So she walked down the row of cages and bent down at one certain dog, and she said she fell in love with the dog and decided right there that she was going to adopt the dog. When she looked at the dog's name, it was Trigger.
Oh, geez. Bullet and Trigger.
And now I think those are the 2 horses that Roy Rogers had, Bullet and Trigger.
Oh, yeah.
So she said she knew that her dog had led her to this other dog.
I mean, I can totally believe that. That's just, it's such a cool, people are like, well, it's a coincidence, but it's too eerie. It's just too eerie not to be something. And that's what I always meant, with, 6 showing up at her door, being that, it was like destined to get her name, being 6 months after her cat died, and 6, on June 6th, 6 months, the Bull 6 championship, which is what we were watching when she scared the crap out of us, when she just suddenly, just like our old cat would do, came right up to the door, back glass door, and was looking at us in the same corner Patches would always look at us. It freaked all of us out, like at the moment, because we literally thought Patches was at the door. We were seeing her ghost. And I remember I'd seen her ghost in my bedroom. So for a second there, really thought I was seeing the ghost of my cat.
I was trying to figure out because like Bob actually passed away this one cat started coming around 3 days before, like while I knew she was sick, even though she was sick like a
Right.
good month or so beforehand. All of a sudden, this cat just showed up in our boat, and I'm like, oh my god! I was literally carrying Bob out, and she was probably gonna have to be put down like within the next day or so. But she, passed on her own because her kidneys were failing. And I looked at this cat walking out like, oh, don't tell me, because I've got 8 rescues. And I came back and Bob passed away, and this cat needed a home so bad. But she was still alive when it happened, because I kept thinking, was she reincarnated in Bob or something? Like, this is too weird. I tell Jeff all the time, but I'm like, but Bob was still alive when she came.
The same with 6. She was alive when Patches was
Yeah.
alive.
So here's what I can explain that, I think, too. And oftentimes, and it works the same way with people as it does with pets. When people are dying in the hospital, they will often leave their body. It's like an astral projection.
Right.
They'll leave their body to let people know that they're passing away. They're slowly fading. Pets can do the same thing, and they can inspire other pets to come to your door. So it's really no different. It's just the purpose is different. One is to bring another pet to you, whereas with humans, it's just to let us know that someone's going to pass.
Right.
And I saved Bob. I rescued Bob almost the same way that this cat was rescued.
What do you think is the purpose of these of that kind of thing happening? Do the pets are just trying to comfort us, or we're supposed to have these animals, like it's a predestined thing, just like our children are, or something? It's a big question.
I think it's twofold. I think that one, our pets are trying to comfort us, just like people are when they communicate with us from the other side. But secondly, they want us to not let the love that we have go to waste. And there are plenty of animals that need that love.
Very true. Very true. So for you in the medium thing, it seems like you started out with as a connection with pets, that's your strong suit. Is this is what kind of led you down the path, is this afterlife in pets. Where did you how did you decide to start kind of passing along messages from pets?
Well, since I've now published 4 books, and 2 of them are about people and 2 of them are about pets.
Mm-hmm.
And the Pets in the Afterlife book seems to get much more attention.
Well, it's something. I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's something I think all pet owners think about in some way, even if they're not deep thinkers. When their pet dies, you think about, where did they go? Am I going to see them again? That's you think you. I think everybody with their children, as a father, goes, damn well, I better see my children again. But with pets, it's really an unknown. Like, are they there in the afterlife?
Well, it's really only unknown because some religions unfortunately tell us that.
Right.
And that's totally false. There are other religions. There are Eastern religions that understand that pets are on the other side. They're no different. It all comes down to a basics, and that is, what is a soul? So usually when I give talks, I say, okay, this is Soul 101. A soul is the energy within us, the physical energies, and it's all about energy, coupled with memories, personality, and knowledge. And that after our physical body dies, that energy has to go somewhere. So we make a choice to become either a ghost or a spirit, and every living thing has that soul. And pets, any animals, even wild animals or insects or anything living. I can't communicate with wild animals because they're not domesticated. They don't know our emotions, our feelings, our language. It's harder to get messages from them. But pets do. They live with us. They know those things.
They watch TV. I know they do.
They do.
I watched my dog literally change the channel. I swear. I mean, they watch TV. I know they do. I can watch them sitting there watching TV, and they're spacing out to it just as much as I am.
What are you watching?
All kinds of stuff. Usually haunted shows. She likes the haunted shows. She's all down with the paranormal lockdown.
By the way, speaking of watching things, my husband and I went and saw A Dog's Purpose, the movie.
Oh, that's a touchy one.
Yeah, it's about a dog reincarnating over time.
Is that what it's about? Oh,
it is. It's about the one soul of a dog reincarnating over time.
Wow.
And you mentioned that you seeing your cat made you tear up. Well, I honestly, I cried through the whole movie, but it was a good thing.
Yeah.
I thought about you while they've been advertising this. I've been thinking about you.
I've had the book for about 6 months and I haven't read it because I was afraid that I'd just cry through the whole book. So.
At least
I can't watch it.
At least it's a book in your privacy. You're in the movie theater, buddy. Crying around a bunch of people. My problem with I say that's a touchy subject because of the video of them shooting the film with the dog, throwing the dog in the water tank, and the dog being scared. There's a lot of controversy with that.
That was hard to watch on TMZ.
Yeah. So I'm like a little upset. Now I really want to see the movie now that I know that's what it's about. But that video is burned in my mind. How the media works, but seeing them torture that dog like that, it's like,
well, being a dog rescue dad, I can tell you that we make our dogs do a lot of things that they're scared of. Even clipping their nails is a very frightening thing.
You should hear my pug when we clip her nails.
So think of it that way. I mean, they really weren't harming the dog. I really had to think about this. They really weren't harming the dog.
Right.
And the dog was trained to rescue, but it was scared about the rushing water and the noises.
Yeah.
They switched the sides at the last minute. The dog had been training on the other side of the pool the whole time. And at the last minute, they decided to have him go to the other side. And so the dog wasn't sure, but it was very hard for people to watch that moment of forcing the dog to go in.
I don't think they were hurting any dogs, like causing them pain. It just was hard to watch that because you could see the fear in the dog. I don't want to get off topic into the controversy and that stuff, but I agree. I know they weren't trying to purposely harm any dogs. It's hard for me to watch. That when they do make these movies, sometimes these dogs, they work hard. These dogs work hard in these movies. They make them work hard.
They'll do anything for their people.
Yeah, exactly. So working, doing, passing on messages, did you start like just word of mouth? Like, hey, if you wanted to talk about your pet, or it just came out of the books, doing the books and your research into it, that you started kind of giving messages to people from their animals?
It really came out of the books. When I wrote the first Pets in the Afterlife book, I have 3 friends who happen to be mediums, and they all provided me with their own experiences with their dogs who passed. So each one of those has a chapter. And a woman who is a friend of mine that works in dog rescue had an experience with a ghost growing up as a child, a ghost dog who saved her, as a matter of fact.
Wow.
So once I published that book, I started getting emails from people who lost their pets. And now I get about 20 to 40 a week.
Oh, my God.
And I provide them free messages, when I can tune in. So it just takes me a while to get to everybody.
Oh, yeah. If anybody calls in tonight, are you open to see if somebody wants you to try to tune into their pet? I understand if you don't, because it's hard to do it over a phone line, I'm sure.
No, sure. They're more than welcome to. Usually though, the best way for me to get messages is when I'm in a peaceful place and I can concentrate and focus.
You're in the Paranormal Soup panel here, so it's not the best place to focus, but you never know what'll happen. We can see.
I'm cooking right now.
All right, so we'll see. We'll open up the Skype lines in just a little bit, guys, too. So doing this, what have you learned? I mean, not just the pets. Obviously you've had messages from other spirits, human spirits. What have you learned about the dynamics of the other side?
Well,
what's it basically, that's the ultimate question for most people.
Sure. Well, spirits will convey to us what we feel is a peaceful existence in heaven, paradise, Valhalla, whatever you want to call the other side. So they'll often come to us in our dreams, and they'll show themselves with us in a peaceful setting. That's just to put our minds at ease that they're fine. But really, they're just energy. They're energy, personality, memories, and knowledge. So what they have shown me, and I wrote about all of this in my book, Lessons Learned from Talking to the Dead, is that it's really important in this life that we treat each other equally, that we love each other, that we help each other, that we do not use fear and hatred and separation because those are negative things that have no good consequence.
Well, the world needs that message really bad right now.
Yes, it certainly does. Because what happens is when we behave that way in the physical world, I've talked to a number of spirits. Spirits are the ones who crossed over, ghosts are earthbound, and every time I've talked to a ghost, they were ones that used fear and intimidation and hatred and intolerance, and they choose to stay here as a ghost because they were begging for forgiveness.
Do you hear sometimes, on paranormal shows and stuff, is that they fear hell. They fear the spirits, the ghosts don't want to move on because they're afraid that they'll be sent to hell. Do you find that to be the case a lot of times?
I do. As a matter of fact, most of the time when I find an earthbound ghost, they stay for a number of reasons, but that's one of the reasons that they fear hell. And to be honest with you, hell was a man-made concept. So hell is basically being trapped as an earthbound ghost because they can't communicate with their loved ones in spirit. And the only way they can be with their loved ones is to finally cross over, which is where paranormal teams come in, as you know. So I also have found that people who are the mostly religiously conservative are the ones that wind up being stuck as an earthbound ghost.
Because they fear hell.
Because they fear hell, yes.
You wonder now, is it their choice at any time just to realize and they can move on? Or do they have to have somebody, a human on this side or whatever, or angels or somebody open up that doorway for them to move on to that other side?
That's a great question. And what I've found is that for some reason, they seem to forget how to connect to the greater energy. So they really need a human to come and open a portal and call their loved ones, is what we do here on Inspired Ghost Tracking. And by the way, pets sometimes will remain behind as ghosts. It's rare. It's very rare, but I have crossed some over. How you do that is you open a portal of light, you call their relatives in spirit, and I've actually thrown a treat into where the light is, and the dog has gone over.
Oh, that's crazy. Now, so why would a dog or a cat become a ghost? Not crossover, I mean.
Because of their dedication to their pet parent.
So it's an attachment kind of deal there. Sorry, I got a frog in my throat right now.
Like the movie, right?
Yes. Well, that particular spirit, I guess in the movie, the spirit gets reborn and comes to different people throughout his life, throughout his lives, and then finally, well, I'm not going to tell you the end, but
no, don't tell us that.
It's a great story.
No, I didn't know that's what it was about either. So that now I know. All I saw was the bad press.
Yeah, don't pay attention to the bad press.
So yeah, I want to see that then. I definitely want to see it because
the story is worthwhile.
Oh yeah, I'm more wanting to read the book. Because I always think the books are better than the movie. So that's something I'd actually like to get my hands on that book to read it. Doing this though, and getting these messages from dogs and cats and other animals, what is it that you think that they're when you're getting these messages, like if you get a message from a ghost one, the one you have, you had to cross over, what are they doing with their time? I mean, humans, spirits seem to relive stuff that they've done or whatever. The cats and our dogs kind of doing the same thing, like reliving things they've done, or are they just hanging out like they always hung out?
They're existing like they did in the physical.
And do they know they've crossed over or they've forgotten?
The ones that know that have crossed over, you mean in spirit or as a ghost?
Is there a ghost? Do they know they've crossed over? I mean, that they're...
They know that, yes, they do. There's an awareness once they pass over that they are no longer in the physical. And that's because they'll do things that they do in the physical, but they're not getting the same reaction from their pet parent. And they're wondering why their pet parent doesn't acknowledge them.
What do you think? I mean, this is my same idea for spirits. There's a good, I'll make this a reference because I'm a huge fan of Supernatural TV show. My son's name's Dean, for anybody that watches the show knows why I'm a fan.
Okay.
But they make reference to ghosts. If they hang around for so long, they become almost insane. Like they forget where they're at, or they become dangerous. For a pet spirit that's just never been crossed over, that's still hanging around, can they become something more than that they were? Like you talk about elemental forces and stuff like that. Can that spirit of the animal turn bad, or just from being a ghost for too long, or become something more than just that animal spirit? I guess become something that people experience, these weird creatures sometimes and stuff that they see. Could that be old animal spirits?
Well, my perception is no, that they keep their memories, personality, and knowledge on the other side. So they will always be what they were in the physical. However, ghosts or spirits have the ability to manipulate their energy, so they can look like something different.
Right.
So for instance, sometimes ghosts will appear as dark shadows, and that is because they don't have enough energy to become visible to the living. Everything requires energy that ghosts and spirits do. So they won't become something different, but they will still maintain their personalities and memories.
So if they had spirits too, like, a cat, a dog, whatever, you say all life has spirits. So does a bug have a ghost? I know I'm not trying to be silly. I'm really curious. You smack a bug, and does that have like a spirit or an energy, or?
It has a soul energy. Yeah. I don't like bugs myself. So,
but you brought up Eastern traditions. My mom's a Buddhist, and I know there's Buddhist temples. They won't kill an insect within the temple grounds. They want to kill anything that's living.
That's true. They have a total deep respect for all living things, and it's a mixture here in the U.S. because if you see a giant spider in your house, you want it out.
And I'm like, you're in my territory, and you're dead.
Right.
By any means necessary.
By any means necessary, with my shoe or the nearest object I got to smash your butt.
I have to wonder about the souls of a stink bug, though.
Oh, and they're everywhere. There's a million dead souls of stink bugs in my house right now. Okay, they're so bad this year. But you wonder if all the my other question is too, because when we get into the subject of pets and having souls, did dinosaurs have souls? This is Paranormal Soup, man. I mix it up quite a bit here. We get down the rabbit hole, but dinosaurs or other creatures that have gone extinct, are their souls still around?
Sure. Every living thing has a soul. So yes, absolutely. I think that over an extended period of time, a lot of their energies finally find a way to cross over. Okay. And that is because when so many others pass away later, whenever somebody passes away, a light opens, the light to the other side, which is the energies of the cosmos or the universe or whatever.
It's kind of like the movie Frighteners. If you've ever seen that, whenever somebody dies in that, this big portal opens up and then the souls go up in the sky.
I haven't seen that movie.
No, Michael J. Fox. That's a classic. You gotta see that.
Yeah, was that a horror movie?
No, it was a comedy kind of. Okay. It was Michael J. Fox. He can see dead people, and when these people die, this big light comes down from the sky, and their soul starts floating up. Or if they become a ghost, they don't go to that light, and they also know it's a doorway. If they wait, some of them wait around for another person to die so they can get in. Frighteners. See it. It's one of my favorite movies.
All right, we'll do.
Sorry, I make a lot of references.
No, that's great. So I do think that over time, that's why we don't have like ghosts who were Cro-Magnon men or women, right, or whatever. That portals open whenever somebody dies, so sometimes ghosts will follow somebody else.
So eventually they've moved on. That's just what I wonder, because Greg Newkirk of Week in Weird has a Bigfoot ghost theory, that people are seeing Bigfoot because it's the ghost of Bigfoot. It's the Gigantopithecus. This is the creature, but it's the ghost of the creature you're seeing. And that's why we've never found a body. And I always thought that's a very interesting theory, to explain why we've never found the Bigfoot body, but we still have these sightings. So if there's a Bigfoot, it would have a soul, if it was an ancient creature, maybe. There's a possibility. Doing this though, you've talked to these animal spirits and gotten these images. What are some of the messages? Can you give us some more stories of some of the messages you've gotten from animals and related to their owners?
Sure. Animals communicate, as I mentioned, the same way that people communicate. So they can. I'll give you kind of a checklist so that everybody listening has an idea of what to look for. They can make noises. So people have reported hearing nails on the floor, collars jingle. You'll hear barks or meows, as you heard. You'll see shapes, the outlines of them. They'll lead you to someone that looks like them or bring someone to you. Musical signs that remind you of them. Birthdays, anniversaries, and holidays are the special times when they usually communicate. I'm trying to think of some of the other things. You may find like a toy that was their favorite toy when you're out shopping, and it reminds you of them. That's because they led you to that toy.
Yeah, go ahead.
There are a couple of stories that I'll share with you later about how pets gave so much information to prove that to their parents that they're still around.
I was going to say, do you think that there's also, people talk about having their guardian angels around them and stuff like that. Do you think the guardian angels have some role in what happens with the pets and their connection to you and the messages afterwards?
Well, our spirit guides will help our pets cross over, and sometimes, by the way, your pet will become one of your spirit guides.
It's like a Native American kind of tradition, the idea of animal guides, basically, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know that I have a dog as one and an old man as another.
And witches had familiars, which were pets, usually cats, or animals. They talk about that in Harry Potter, the animals around them and their familiars.
Mm-hmm. And interestingly enough, by the way, different cultures look at animals differently.
Oh, yeah.
I really, like the Egyptian culture, worships dogs and cats. Anubis is a dog god,
right?
The god of the dead. And I just wish that all cultures around the world would have woken up and worshipped their dogs and cats from the dawn of time. Would be a better place.
Well, we're here. We in a way worship our dogs and cats in a sense that we're in America. People, they're their other children. That's how they are to my parents. I'm out of the house. Forget him. Like, we got our two dogs. They're our children. They're their babies. They spoil them more than they ever spoiled me. Americans, love their pets. They are members of the family. And that not just Americans. There's other countries too. But you go to somewhere like Asia, and they could be a delicacy. I'm saying? They could be something that's on your plate. As of here, we have cows, big beef industry, but in India, they're sacred. Mm-hmm. So we can get down to the whole, like I said, my mom's a vegetarian and everything reminds me of these things, but, different cultures respect different kinds of animals. It's what I see. They have more of a respect for cows in India, I think, than they do for dogs.
Yes. And by the way, I will tell you that my mother always said that her favorite child was her poodle. Not me or my two brothers.
Exactly. I see people giving more love to their pets than they did their kids. We love our pets, and I got two dogs that are getting towards the end of their life, and it kills me every day. I think about it's coming, that day's coming. They're going to pass on. I got to explain that to my children. I'm dreading it. I'm dreading it for a lot of reasons. That and because I know I'm not going to have any pets for a while, and I'm going to miss them. As much as they pee and poop on my floor all the time, I'm still going to miss them, And my guess, the biggest fear as a pet parent is, am I going to see them again?
You will. We all see our pets on the other side. And that's why they really don't reincarnate until we pass. Like people, they don't come back until all their contemporaries have crossed over. So they're going to be waiting there on the other side.
So, on the subject of reincarnation, So do you think we're reincarnating when we come back? I take it you believe in reincarnation, obviously. When we reincarnate, are we going to meet our pet that way then too? They're going to reincarnate as some other pet.
They will reincarnate some other way, yes. What happens is we're all tied together. Think about it as energy, and love is an emotional energy, and love is an emotional energy like a string that is attached from one person to another person to a pet to whoever. So all of these energies that we know in the physical are energies that we're going to be attached to on the other side and then come back again.
Now, do pets, I ask this because I wonder this for some pets I've had throughout my life. Would a cat then reincarnate as a dog? Or they always reincarnate as a cat?
It could come back as any animal. Because
I've seen some dogs, I swear, should have been cats, and I've seen some cats for sure had to been a dog in a past life, the way that they act.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, do you believe there's some people that believe that, there's some cultures that believe that humans can reincarnate as animals? Do you believe in that as a possibility?
Well, I haven't encountered any humans that have come back.
It just seems like a crazy idea to me. And if it's a religious idea, I'm sorry. It's hard for me to imagine like, oh, I'm going to come back as a dog. I've watched my dog lick its butt and lick my other dog's butt. And I'm like, I don't want to reincarnate and do that. I love my dog, but she's gross. She's the grossest dog in the world. She eats poop. I'm like, I don't want to reincarnate as a dog. So we are separate souls, right? They have their shindig of reincarnation, and we reincarnate as humans. They reincarnate as animals.
I think that we keep separate like kingdoms.
That's what I hope. I love my dogs, but I don't want to be one. And now a cat, on the other hand, wouldn't be too bad. A cat would be nice. Just lay around. Yeah, I'll do stuff when I want to do it, not when you try to make me do it. And they don't seem to be as gross.
But my cat licks stuff too.
Okay. There goes that idea.
Okay.
But what are you going to say, Rob?
I don't know. I was speechless after I heard her cat.
Yeah. Well, it's just the idea, we are... we share this existence together, these animals that have become so precious to us throughout our culture. I mean, we can talk about the relationship between dogs and cats. It goes back thousands of years. People having pets and that. Do you think we're all kind of on a spiritual journey together, where there's some purpose for us to be together like this? This kind of co-relationship?
Sure. Because the whole purpose is to learn to be better living people, to learn how to love unconditionally. That's the ultimate purpose. And we learn that from our pets.
Now, knowing that all life has souls, do you still eat meat?
Chicken. I've never liked birds.
So you'll eat chicken. You'll eat birds. You're like my wife. My wife doesn't like birds either. They scare the crap out of her. But but no, it's a question, because I have thought about this. At times, I love my hamburger, man. I'm a hamburger connoisseur. But being somebody who, I'm a Gnostic. I question a lot of things, but I have belief in life. Seeing my cat passed on, I know animals have souls, but I'm eating this poor cow. Like, I'm not trying to. I honestly, I'm still eating the cow. You know what I'm saying? But I still wonder. It's like, are we meant to be eating animals if they have souls, or any kind of like living creature?
Well, I
know it's a deep question. I'm sorry.
That's a weird question, but know that after the animal passes, it doesn't care what happens to its physical remains.
That's true. Very true.
Just like people, we bury them or we burn them, we don't rely. Spirits don't rely on their remains to come back and give us messages to let us know they're around.
Well, Mike, one of my thoughts on it is though it's like, if you ever watch any of those damn PETA videos that kill you, you watch a slaughterhouse, you see animals getting killed horribly, it's like, if they have souls and they feel this, even though they don't care after they moved on, it makes you wonder. I know, like I said, I'm not trying to push people and be vegan or vegetarian, because I'm not. But when we talk about this thing, that's where my brain goes with it, is that these animals have souls, and think of how many are butchered a day.
I try not to.
That's the thing, though. It's the question. If animals have souls, are we on the right purpose? Are we doing the right thing by doing this? And I don't want to. I ask this question hoping the answer is yeah, we're all right, because I like my hamburger. I like, I mean, if you get down to it, everything has life. A fish. I like fish. You could say we can't eat anything but plants. Well, plants might have souls too. Do you believe in that?
Sure, there's energy within plants. They're living things.
They respond music. It's been proven that they.
So somebody's going on a diet after this show, huh?
You're right. I can't eat anything. Everything has living soul. So I guess what I'm getting to is that it's there is, we're all right to be eating animals as we are, even if they have souls. It's just part of life. I would guess that would be my idea on it.
I don't know the answer to that, but I would assume that yes, that's probably
deep thoughts by Jason Plan. I am going to tell people we are opening up the Skype line now, and don't call in and berate me for trying to push veganism, because I'm not. It's the audio only Skype line is oojblandoo. I don't actually have my lower third up. I'll put that up. But that is the audio only. If you don't want people to see you, if you want to call into the show and have people see you and have Rob see you, that is the video Skype line, which is Soup or live. Dang it, I always get it wrong. Live Soup live chat, 800 live chat. Live Soup Chat. I always get it wrong. Hopefully they're putting it in the chat room if JB that we can post it in there, because I'm probably butchering it. But one of those two Skype lines, you can call in and ask Rob any questions you have, or maybe see if Rob can get in touch with your lost pet. I'd love to hear your stories. Oh, well, that was quick. We got a caller. How you doing tonight, Zach?
Doing pretty good, Jason. How you doing?
You were just waiting for me to say you can call.
That's right. I was still listening to it while I was driving too.
Oh no, you're not driving now, I hope.
No, I'm not driving right now.
Not recommended to drive and call into the show, just so people know. Okay, go ahead, Zach. What's your question?
Hey, Rob. Very nice to meet you. I have two questions. But to do so, I just need to. I'll just provide just a brief synopsis just of the events that happened that'll lead up to my two questions. Okay, so my first question. It goes back about 3 years ago. I had a cat who, just before he died, I mean, he was in a lot of pain. I could see that every day in him. But
it's the worst.
When he died, the entire AC in our house went out for 24 hours. Whether that was something supernatural or not, I'm not really too sure. But in your research and some other stories that you've collected over the years, do you find circumstances like that have happened whenever an animal passes?
Well, they certainly can affect electricity because they are energy, but I think maybe there was something probably wrong with your air conditioner. It's really hard to say if, did you find out if there was anything physically wrong with your air conditioning or your system there?
Yeah, eventually they did. I mean, I'm not technical on that, but
okay.
But yeah, they did. It did went out, and we had to replace it. But it was just a weird coincidence.
Weird timing. Yeah. Well, the first rule of paranormal investigating is debunk everything, and then what you can't debunk, then you may attribute to the paranormal. So, if your air conditioner was old, I would say that's
right.
Pretty much what it was.
Yeah.
Okay. My second question is, for many years, my mom had a dog. His name was Zeke. He was a pit bull Queensland mix, so he was a pretty big dog. Very loyal, but his big fallacy is that whenever the other animals were getting into a fight, he basically would go in and he'd finish it, to say the least.
Like finish the dogs off?
Well, to say that, there was my other dogs did get into a fight one day, and he killed one of the other dogs.
Oh.
And I remember the next day, my mother and my father, they were there. They were going to go put him down. And I remember before they took him off to be put down, I told him, "I'm sorry, buddy," and I pat him, and And I remember when my mom got back, she was completely devastated.
Mm-hmm.
Well, 2 months later, I remember I got home from work, and I was sitting out in my kitchen, and we have a glass door that leads out to the patio or leads out to the backyard. And I remember I looked over, and just for a brief second, I thought I saw, looked like his back as well as his tail, because one defining characteristic that he had is that he had spots over on his back, and I could see that clearly. And he was walking over towards my parents' room, wherever where my mom was sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
My question is, does it take a certain level of energy and devotion and love really to for animals to manifest themselves? Because I heard Jason's story about his cat. I'm wondering if that's if there's like if an animal has to have all those characteristics really to have that energy to manifest themselves.
Absolutely, they certainly do. Love empowers spirits to manifest, and love is a positive emotional energy. Love, faith, and hope are the three things, the three emotional energies that help bring spirits to give messages. They also use physical energies like heat, light, water, and electricity. So, if any of those are present, they can certainly manifest. But because the dog was seen in the home, that means that it was the emotion of love that helped the dog come back to let you know that he's okay. And there's forgiveness from the other side.
Well, my mother was very ecstatic to really hear about that story, and she later affirmed to me. She said, "Yeah, certainly, I felt him." I didn't want to tell her.
Right.
I waited about 2 weeks till after it happened, because I mean, she was still mourning his loss, and she was still upset. So I didn't want to cause any more emotion when I told her. So I waited for a while to eventually tell her that.
Well, thank you, Zach.
All right. Thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go feel guilty. Jason turned me off of meat. Just kidding.
I wasn't trying to. Like I said, I'm a hamburger connoisseur. But it's when we talk about pets and souls, I mean, isn't it something you think about, Zach? Like, did this, poor cow that I'm eating right now, like, have a soul, and it's on the other side going, screw you, for eating me? I mean, I don't know. I guess I think too deeply about these things.
Personally, for me, not to be politically incorrect, I'm just more worried about feeding my stomach than worrying about if the animal had soul.
Well, obviously I am too, because I can't give up hamburgers. I just can't do it.
No, man, I hear you. I can't give up meat.
Well, thank you, Zach. You have a great night. Thanks for calling in, man.
All right. Have a great night, everyone.
Good night. Thanks.
We got a question from chat from Keith. He goes, okay, we've had to let all our dogs go at some point. Do they understand that we don't want to let them go, but we have to so they don't suffer any longer? That's kind of where my next question was going to be anyways. So Keith nailed that one.
So by letting them go,
do they understand why we're doing it is what he's asking, because they're suffering.
Okay, so helping them cross over. Yes, they actually do understand why when we help them cross over, because pets can read our energy. They can read our emotions. I mean, think about this. When dogs know when you're sick, when you're angry, when you're happy, when you're sad. They comfort you when you're sick. They comfort you when you're sad. They play with you when you're happy, and vice versa. So they can also read stress. I mean, we give off different I think pheromones when we're stressed. So they can sense our fear and our anxiety and our stress, and they know it's a difficult decision for us to make for them. But oftentimes they let us know when it's their time. That usually they won't eat for a couple of days. They'll be very lethargic. They'll just let you know when it's time, and they don't want us to feel guilty. That's what I hear from the other side all the time, is that they actually thank us for giving them a peaceful and respectful passage to put them out of pain, and it's always a thanks. So people write me all the time and say they feel guilty, and the answer is always they don't want us to feel guilty. They just want to say thank you, Mom and Dad.
Hey, it's the hardest scene when you have to put a pet down. It's still alive, but you know it's suffering.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen it. The look in their eyes. There's that one video that's very viral on Facebook of the one dog that knows it's about ready to be put down, and it's crying. It breaks my heart. It's like it breaks my heart because it's like they were getting ready to put it down, and this dog's crying. It's like it knows what's coming. And that just it's hard for me to even comprehend that that these dogs know, and I've seen it. I do think they know what's happening, that they're being put down. I don't know how they know, but you look in their eyes, you seem to see that they know. I mean, they're suffering, they're in pain. So I think that's part of it, but it breaks my heart.
I have a story for you about my own dog Sprite that we had to make that decision for. And by the way, sometimes pet parents will say that their dog may not have moved for 2-3 days, and they've been lethargic and they won't eat. But whenever they go, when they're taking them on that last ride to the vet, their dog suddenly shows a burst of energy.
Yeah.
And our dog Sprite did that too. He ate treats all the way to the vet. He hadn't eaten for days. And the reason is because they know what you're going to do. They are appreciative and they're happy that you've found the courage to help them cross over.
See, my mind goes to that, like, look, I'm fine. I'm eating. I'm good. Don't take me. Don't take me. That's what my mind goes to. But okay.
That's because, we're brought up to feel guilty.
I'm a paranoid, guilty feeling person. Yes.
Yes. So, but many of us are, though. So,
yeah.
So here's a story that I have in my my Pets in the Afterlife 1 book. This is really amazing that that a little dog can do this. And when it came Sprite's time, he was 16 and a half. He was a dachshund. He was going blind. He was going deaf. He had kidney failure. He had a bad heart murmur. The last 2 days, he couldn't get up. He couldn't use his back legs. And I would carry him in and then carry him out. And then the bottom line was apparently a tumor burst in his nose and he was bleeding. So I took him into the emergency room, and the vet said, "Do you want to do this now?" And I said, "No, can we keep him till the morning?" And she said, "Okay, but you really have to do this for this poor dog." Yeah. So I wanted him to have a chance to say goodbye to our other 3. And so my husband and I went to the vet that night with Sprite, and I called on my dad's spirit. My dad passed in 2008, and our friend Ed is actually my husband's friend Ed, who died in 1996, who's really active around us. It's like there's 3 people in this house, but that's another story. Anyway, so I asked them to be there and help Sprite cross over. And at the time in the room, I remember feeling a hand on my left elbow, a hand on my right elbow. It was cold. And I felt my dad on one side and Ed on the other. And then I looked down and I saw Buzz, my dog who passed, sitting on the floor. And I knew they were there to help him over. The next day, we were walking our dogs, and I asked for confirmation that Sprite's with him. Well, my husband found a penny dated 1996, which is the year Ed passed. At the end of the walk, I found a penny dated 2008, which is the year my dad passed.
Yeah. Wow.
Those were messages from them that Sprite was with them. And when we had come back from that walk, for the first time all summer, this was July 8th, 2013, a yellow and black butterfly came in the backyard and lingered around our 3 dogs. Now we had 2 other dachshunds and a Weimaraner, and dachshunds and Weimaraners they'll chase anything.
Right.
They didn't touch it. For 20 minutes, that butterfly sat on the grass and lingered around them like Sprite used to walk around them. So we knew it was from him. So spirits can influence butterflies and birds and insects to behave erratically. So not everything is a sign, but when they behave erratically, then you know that something's going on. So that became Sprite's butterfly. And whenever I think of Sprite, I'd see that butterfly.
So the butterfly would appear?
Mm-hmm.
You're thinking about
this past July, I was driving to work. It was in the morning, and a yellow and black butterfly flew right past my windshield. And it was then that I realized it was July 8th, the anniversary of his passing.
Oh, that's crazy that that these animals that can't talk to us, really, I mean, like we can't have an actual two-way conversation with our animals, but I swear you do, and in their own way. But when they pass on, that they're thinking of us, that they're considerate of us, and are with us like that, to pass on those kind of messages, just shows you the depth of their souls.
Mm-hmm.
That
absolutely
they care that much, and that's the thing too, is that we don't put our loved ones down, mostly, I watched my grandmother go through agonizing Alzheimer's, and watched her final days. Putting dogs down, it's like we do it as a kindness. You wonder, when they're on that other side, if they do this to let us know it's all right that you had to do it.
Wouldn't it be the same as when they pull the plug, when you have to make that decision?
That's similar. That's similar, but it's not the same as like they're still living. We're going to put them down.
Take them down to the office.
So what? Earlier I was promoting veganism. Now I'm promoting Jack Kevorkian here. No, I'm not. I'm not.
Well, there are in Oregon and Washington State, they have that law. They just passed that law in Washington D.C., but they have to wait for Congress to say okay. So it's a right to die. People who know that they're in agony and they just want to pass with dignity.
I'm a libertarian, so my belief on it, and I'll just let people know now, is that if you want to take, you want to end it, you don't want to go on with whatever how you're suffering, that should be your choice. Hate me, whatever, be mad at me for that opinion, but that's how I am. I'm libertarian at nature, and I don't think the government should have a right to tell you when you can take yourself out of the picture. That's not a belief if you should. I'm just saying my belief on it is nobody should have that right.
Yeah, everybody should have the right to choose. I mean,
exactly.
When they're in pain and they're in agony and there's no hope for recovery. So, and it takes a lot of courage to make that decision, just like it does for pet parents to make the decision for their pets.
We're facing that decision right now with our pets. They're getting there. They're getting where they can't get upstairs. They're getting to the point where I feel like any day now I'm going to be like, my one dog was shaking the other night, and it wasn't that cold in the house. And I know it's because she's getting old. It's just we had to put her under a blanket and she was fine, but she's 14 years old. She's a puggle. Not the best genes in her family history. She was inbred. And she's that's the pet's going to kill me when she passes on. And I think about it all the time lately, because I know I'm going to have to make that decision. I don't know how I'm going to. Doing this show tonight, I have to tell you, talking about these things is helped me with that a little bit. It makes me feel, I hate to say it makes me feel a little better.
Jason, can I just say, I think it's you thinking about it and us thinking about it that's the hardest part. But let me tell you, from someone that has animals like a revolving door, when it's time, and you just know it. Like you just know it.
Yeah, I don't know if I will, because it's hard for me.
And Jason, I do want to point out something that I get a lot of questions about too, is that people feel guilty sometimes if their pet passes when they're not home.
Oh yeah.
Or people feel guilty for not going into the room when their vet euthanizes their pet. There's a lot of guilt for not being there, and the answer to that question is, should I feel guilt? The answer is no, because our pets make the decision about how they want to pass, just like people do. One woman wrote me and she told me that she knew her dog was very ill and she knew that her time was coming, and the dog one afternoon wandered out into the backyard. She found her dog had passed quietly in the near rose bush. And that was the dog's choice. The dog wanted to pass in a quiet space. So interestingly enough, whenever this woman says that she's thinking of her dog, she smells roses in the house.
Oh.
So roses have become that dog's signature. And similarly, people do the same thing. They make the decision to pass either with people around or without. My mother passed in 2013, and she had a severe stroke, and she wasn't going to recover. And my brothers and I had to make the decision to, not to disconnect the feeding, which was horrible. But my mother's a feisty Italian woman, and she would not want to have lived that way. So my brothers were with her. She lived 400 miles away, so it took me a while to get up there. My brothers were with her 24/7. When I got up there, I told her it was okay to pass, and I told my brothers, I said, we need to leave the room. We need to go home tonight. It was then that my mother passed.
She knew.
She wanted to be alone. She didn't want anybody there. Of course, I sensed my dad and our family dog in the room, and I told my mother. And I think that the only reason my mother crossed was not because my dad was there, but the dog was on the other side.
Yeah, because you love that dog so much.
That's right. So so people and pets make the choice to pass the way they want to, and we should not feel guilty for not being there.
Now, do you happen to doing these kind of communications, find pets forming relationships on the other side with people they didn't have relationships with before? Because I've heard of stories of like a child passing and then another pet passing, and then a medium saying, "Oh, the pet is with the child," stuff like that. They make relationships even on the other side with other animals or other people. Absolutely.
We don't have to know everybody on the other side that we're connected to in this life, in the physical. I know a lot of I've seen a lot of grandparents or even friends that pets will show me that they're associated with on the other side that they never met in the physical life.
So there's something you wonder, like I said before, about like spirit guides, how much they influence all this with the pets. Do they lead us to the pets we're supposed to have in life? Is it kind of predestined?
I don't know if it's predestined, but they do lead us to the pets that we're supposed to have, because those pets will help us become better people.
Now, have you, getting a little bit away from the pets, what are some of the messages you've gotten from spirits, from people that you've passed on, or some information you've learned from people spirits?
I think I mentioned this earlier, that we need to treat each other equally. We need to show unconditional love. We need to help each other. We need to be less selfish. We need to understand that that it's all about love and energy and working together. Some spirits have told me to tell their families to not focus on so much on religion. So, whatever religion they are, that doesn't matter, because religions were made by man. They were made as a guidepost, not as something we should necessarily live by. And that's become evident, I think, in the U.S. As some religions have become politicized.
Oh God, yes,
yes, and really have hurt people instead. So
I would like to see religions out of my government. That's the libertarian view. If you don't agree with it, I'm sorry. That's just how I am.
That's the way our country was founded.
Yeah. Separation
of church and state. And that's the way it should be. Everybody's entitled to believe what they want, but you can't make everybody believe what you believe.
What I find is the irony of it is that we find more and more religion trying to seep its way back into the government, but at the same time, less and less people being spiritual.
Exactly.
I feel like we really are in a materialistic society, and I know this is getting a heavy topic here, but we live in a materialistic society. Face it, we do. I mean, we care about things that really are antithesis of spirituality. And at the same time, it's like religion's trying to hold on by its very little thing. I want to see religion out of my state and government, but I also want to see people get more spiritual and more thinking deeply about these things. You know, not going to church and that kind of stuff. I want to see people get more into the big questions and looking into their own souls and their own spiritual journeys.
And I've noticed that people, as they grow older, tend to do that. A lot of people I've met over the last 30 years, as they've grown older, they've discarded the ways of their churches, and so churches are good to help people build faith, but you grow from there, and then you find out what life is really about. It's not what somebody dictates to you. You have to find the love inside, and that's one of the main messages from Spirit.
So kind of how I look at it is anybody can go to church at any time, but it's how you act when you're not at church that really matters, you know?
True.
Why do you think so many religions have taken the stance that animals don't have souls?
Because they have no clue. I'm going to be really blunt here.
No, it's fine.
There's nothing that makes, whenever I speak about pets in the afterlife, there's nothing that makes me more angry to hear stupid people say pets don't have souls. And I say to these stupid people, and I'm sorry if I'm getting a little fired up here, but say to these stupid people, look, animals have been on this earth millennia before you ever showed up, before any human being ever showed up, including, and dinosaurs have walked the earth. You can't be a mindless, brainless zombie and figure out how to live your life by getting food and shelter and warmth and so forth. Everything has a brain. Every living thing has a brain. And that brain has knowledge and know-how. And some of the things that I outline in my first pets book are all the different ways that animals learn. Like instinctual learning, behavioral learning. They can sense time. They know seasons. They know dates. They understand language. There's game playing. There's role playing. There's all kinds of things. If you're late with your dog's dinner, they're going to let you know it. Right?
What are you going to say?
I said, if you're late with your dog's dinner, they're going to let you know it.
Oh, I know they do. We got Debbie on the phone line here with us. How you doing, Debbie?
Hi, Debbie.
Hi, Bob. Hi, Jason. Hi, Rob. Hi, Jamie. Hi, Jeff. Okay. A lot of us in here are awakening empaths, I guess you could say. We've felt things our whole lives, but we're just now kind of coming to realize what's going on and trying to learn more about it. I've lost quite a few of my fur babies, but 2 in 2 months this past year. And,
sorry.
Thank you. I've been hearing like their meows and their little scratches, and I sometimes even feel them on my bed. Is that my wishful thinking? Is that them here with me? Is there a way that I can learn how to, communicate with them? I guess or how we can all learn that.
They are communicating with you. So all you have to do to communicate with them is do what you did when they were in the physical. So you talk to them. Yeah,
I do that.
Okay.
All the time.
Time. So pets will oftentimes with cat parents, I found that cats usually are kind of stealthy with their messages. They will often jump up on the bed. They'll brush up against you, or you will hear a meow. Those are the most typical things, especially jumping up on the bed as a message. But all they want to do is just let you know that the love that you share with them is always going to tether them to you, and they'll be around from time to time.
Thank you. You kind of brushed on something that, like, the one that I was closest to who passed this past year, her name was Boo, and she got real sick, and we took her to the emergency vets. They fixed her for like a week, came back, thought she was going to be okay, and then she got real sick again. And my husband had to take her up there because I'm currently bedbound and could not go. And he left her up there because she needed to be like an oxygen therapy. And then they called us to let us know she passed away. And neither one of us were there when she passed.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And I wondered if she, if she did that on purpose so that we wouldn't have to see it, or if And I would also kind of wondered how her soul could get back here to my home, because she wouldn't have gone with my husband. She would go with me if I called her, but I don't know that she would have followed him. I don't know how she could have made it all the way back home to our home. Does that just happen? Do they draw back to our energies or something?
They do. The love that we share actually acts as a beacon to them. So, as I mentioned earlier, when we love someone, whether they're pet or person, think of that love as an emotional tether to them. So it's very easy for them to come back, and that's why if you bury a person, it doesn't matter where you bury a person; they're still going to find you wherever you are in the world, the physical world.
Oh, that's cool. Thank you so much, and we all appreciate your messages and everything you do. Thank you so much.
And just so you know, Boo did very likely choose to pass at the hospital because it would be. She probably knew that it was too emotionally traumatic for you if she passed at home.
Yeah, she was my best friend, man. I missed her every single minute of every single day, and I'm sure that every pet parent feels the same way that I do when they lose one of their fur babies.
Well, she's still your best friend. She's just over in the other side.
It sounds like you're still with you. That you're still getting messages from her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do know that there's a couple of them that have passed that are still here. I've actually even seen them in some of my photos.
Really?
And I had her show up. I have the image still. There's a little girl spirit that lives here whose name is Hannah, and she's like 2.5 looking. And in my Spiritus app that has images where the spirits show themselves, I had her very clearly show up on the left side, and up in the right hand corner, my Boo is looking right at me, and I can see her face, her ears, everything. And so I know she's here. I've had little dogs that lived across the street show up in my Spiritus app.
I would love to see that picture. One, because I'm a fan of Keith Weldon and the Spiritus app, and I love seeing pictures people are getting with that app. Yeah, I'd love to see that because I've seen some amazing stuff. And if you don't know, Rob, what she's talking about, there's a friend of ours, Keith Weldon, made this app called Spiritus. It's a ghost box app, but one of the features to it is a particle simulator in it, and all these images change in it constantly. And yeah, you could get pareidolia with it, seeing that, but there's some images that come across that everybody can clearly see the image. It's not pareidolia that have come across on this app as communication. So I'd be interested to see a pet that's come through there. I've seen some cool. I don't know if you're familiar with this way of communication either, Rob, is water ITC, where they basically take a pan of water and they jiggle it around and meditate on it, and they take pictures. And in the pictures, you get images. I've seen some really amazing pet photographs come through there. People's pets have come across through the water ITC. So there's definitely some physical evidence out there. I want to say this too, Debbie. When you talk about your pet trying to come back to find you, how would that happen? Well, there's pets that are alive that do that. There's a lot of amazing stories of pets that got separated cross country, and somehow, some miraculous way, it boggles my mind, they made it all the way across the country back to that house that they were lived in. It's amazing what pets can do. It really is in life.
Absolutely. And Jason, I just sent you that photo to your Messenger app. So if you want to check it out.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
Boo's up in the right hand corner, way up in the corner, and then the little girl's over on the left side, and you can see her pigtails and her dress and her face and everything. It's you know how Spiritus is. It's kind of blurry, but you can still see it pretty good. I'm sure if somebody had like an image enhancing app, they could probably pull it out even better.
I can't pull it onto here for the show right now, but the next ITC Collective show, if I can get that pulled up for our experiments and stuff, at the beginning of the show, I'll show that picture.
Sure thing. Yeah, I do a lot of ITC with the Spiritus app, and I've got a lot of images of the spirits that live here. Even some of the native, like I live in New Smyrna, Florida. I live about an hour and a half south of Rob Autry in St. Augustine.
Mm-hmm.
And, this is where Ponce de Leon, our inlet is actually where he came in first before he even went to St. Augustine. And there's a lot of really old spirits here.
Oh, I bet.
Native American Seminole Indians here in my yard. And when I first saw them showing up in my IPC, I thought I had an evil clown here.
Oh, that's gonna be a conversation for another night. An evil clown. Well,
yeah, it's scary, but yeah, I have some amazing images from that app.
We'll have to take a look at that. And like I said, next ITC Collective show some of those you got, because I love anything that comes from that. Well, thank you, Debbie. You have a great night.
Thank you so much, Rob, and thank you all very much. Have a good night.
You too. So, of course, I just had my thought. I'm trying to remember. I was just going to ask it because she made me think of it. Darn it. I totally lost. I had a thought about what I was going to ask. Oh, it's totally gone from my brain. Oh, I had this great question and it's totally gone now. Darn it. Oh, I had it a second ago.
I think Rob
I got
said he has a message also.
Oh, what's up, Rob?
I can actually tell you an important story that a dog communicated with me after he passed. This is actually a story that I put in my Pets of the Afterlife 2 book. A woman named Elizabeth had written me and said that her young dog, I think he was a puppy, and a Cocker Spaniel, had when she came home at 8 o'clock, her husband had called her and said that the dog wasn't doing well.
Mm-hmm.
She couldn't figure out what was happening with the dog. So she came home and she said that she called a vet, and she said the dog was shivering and whining, and it looked like the dog was limping. And she called an emergency vet, and they said, bring her in. And she said, well, I'll wait. I won't bring her in if you think it's okay. And they said, well, comfort her and put her in a blanket and watch her overnight. Long story short, 2.5 hours later, she came back and looked at the dog, and the dog had passed away.
Oh,
so she was really distraught, and she said she didn't know what happened to the dog. It was a puppy, and she begged me for an answer. So the dog showed me that there were all kinds of plants around, and the dog showed me that he liked to eat plants.
Oh.
And so I shared this with her, and I said, I can feel pain in my stomach as I'm writing this, because pet spirits and ghosts will actually make me feel pain of death.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, so did your dog like to eat plants? Because I said one of the plants that he ate was toxic.
Oh, no.
So I sent her a list from the ASPCA of toxic plants, and she wrote me back, and she said that she had so many of those in her backyard. She was totally unaware of it. And she finally had the answer that she needed.
Yeah. Which will save another pet's life before she gets, another pet.
Right. So this dog, Clancy, so that I put this story in the book. She let me put the story in the book with the link to the ASPCA toxic plants list. And there are about 1,000+ plants that are toxic to dogs and cats. Yeah. And some of them are surprisingly common. So so this is a message for all pet parents who are listening right now. Please check the ASPCA list of toxic plants for dogs and cats, and make sure that you keep them away from your pets.
I know when when Patches died mysteriously, that my mom went crazy trying to figure out what killed her, and like what pet plants were around. She couldn't find anything. Only thing we found out was years later is that was during that whole food coming from China scare, where the animals were getting something similar to mad cow disease. Okay. And the food that she had been giving our cat at that time was the same food that was listed, and she didn't find that out till the second cat died. The same thing, almost the same circumstances. So we've always wondered if they had I hate saying it, it's called, just technical name of it, it's basically like mad cow disease for cats. So my mom's always wondered if that's what killed the cat, both cats,
Wow.
Because it was like their whole nervous system just shut down. I don't know where. And that's the worst thing. You lose. It's just like if you lost a family member, if you're not a pet owner, and just imagine losing a family member, you don't know what killed them. They just died of an illness. It would drive you nuts trying to figure out what did it. If you care about your pets, it's the same deal. You want to know what happened, especially before you get another pet. So some of this information you're getting is helping other future pets for these owners, I would say.
I hope so.
Because my mom was scared to get another pet. The only reason we did because one showed up at our door. But she was scared to get another one because of that happening again, and then it did. It was years later though. So this is mysteries. Our pets can't talk to us. Now, do you get messages from the living pets around you? Are you able to like pick up like imagery or stuff from your pets you have now? Do you think they're able to some way telepathically communicate with you?
That's a great question. The answer is no. I don't get images from them, but I know our dogs so well that they can just look at me in any way, and I know exactly what they want.
Oh, me too. I get that too. You build a relationship. It is telepathic. I swear. I swear my dog's read my mind before. I swear she can read my mind sometimes, but I swear I can read her sometimes, just living so close. But my wondering is that you get messages from dogs that you had no relationship to afterwards. So obviously there's some connection that you can have with pets. You don't think you can communicate with living pets in that way?
It's easy for me to connect with people and pets who passed. That brings the distinction of an animal communicator versus a medium
right
to the forefront. And so animal communicators can actually communicate with living pets, and being a medium, I just communicate with those who have passed.
And I just wanted to get that kind of differential, what was the difference? Because I know there's people that are like pet whisperers, they communicate with pets. I know some mediums that are able to communicate with pets. They have a ability to know what they're kind of thinking or see images that they're seeing. It just sounded similar to what you're saying with pets that have passed on, but for you, it's just a connection to when they're on the other side.
Yes, and I have received quite a number of emails from people who have lost pets, who have run off, and they've gone missing, and they want to know, where their pets are, and I can't.
That's the worst feeling, and I would feel awful having those kind of emails come, because that's the worst feeling. I've never had it happen, but I've had so many friends, and I care about my friends' pets that have gone missing and never to be found, and not knowing. I just can't imagine not knowing what happened to my pet. It was my worst fear when I first got my dog. She would always try to run away and run off. My worst fear is that she was going to get out and I was never going to see her again and never know what happened to her. Have you gotten, if somebody gives you one of those emails, have you gotten an image or a message where you're like, well, the dog passed away, and given that?
Yes. Unfortunately, I have been able to pick up on the dogs or cats that have passed.
Yeah. And so you were able to help kind of relieve the owner of that.
Yes.
Yeah. That to me, that's hugely helpful, because the not knowing if what happened to your pet, to me, that's just the worst. It's like, are they still alive? Are they dead? If they died, were they alone, or was there somebody that took care of them? That's just the worst. Like people say, they're fur babies. They're your other children, and the think of them taken by somebody or gotten lost, it's the worst. It's worse than seeing them die in front of you, in my opinion, because it's just the not knowing. So
I was wondering if Rob has a cat or a dog.
I have 2 dachshunds.
You do? Oh, a fellow dachshund parent.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
Those are, they can be smart and stubborn at the same time.
Oh, very stubborn. Yeah. But yeah, they're there in the background.
There you go.
Exactly.
See, they heard me asking about them.
Yep.
I haven't heard them all night.
Yeah, me neither. That's the first time. And then you said something, they totally are barking in the background, like, yeah, we're here.
Yeah.
Were you getting some kind of message or feeling about Rob?
I just was curious if Rob was a pet parent too. So.
Oh yeah. So now you have, I want to bring this up too, because we were almost over the show, but you do a number of fundraisers and functions for animal rescue, right?
I do. Usually, my husband and I work with Coast to Coast Dachshund Rescue, and we work with DC area Weimaraner Rescue, and we try to do any kind of fundraisers for them, or I give them proceeds from my books. So anything to support the rescues.
So proceeds from your books go to the foundations?
Whenever we do events, what I've done in the past 3 years is I've gone to pet expos up and down the East Coast, and I've always given a portion of proceeds of book sales to DC Weimaraner Rescue because I actually represent DC Weim Rescue too at the Pet Expos.
That's awesome. Now, Rob also, Bill brought this up in chat. Rob also has pet snakes. I've had a lot of good friends in my life. Rob's one of them that have pet snakes. I have an awful fear of snakes. To me, if there's one pet that you try to tell me has a soul, and I know my friends that have snakes will slap me in the face for saying this, but the one pet I just cannot see having a soul is a snake. I look at a snake's eyes, and it just seems so soulless to me. It seems so soulless. I can't picture it. But my friends, they definitely feel their snakes have a soul and are they're their pets. I just don't get it. I don't get that creature. Just creeps me out.
Well, have you ever bought a car from a used car salesman?
Yes. Yes.
Just saying.
It's the same feeling. It's the same feeling. Of course, I always said this about cats. So when you look at a cat and you're playing with a cat or whatever, I swear they have this look like, yeah, if I was bigger, I'd eat you. Like if you were like suddenly shrank down and you're in front of your cat, yeah, they'd eat you. Your dog probably would lick you and sniff you and be like, hey, I'm going to play with you. But the cat would probably eat you. That's how I always felt. As much as they love you, I feel like they'd eat you if you were small enough. I don't know. That's my feeling on cats. I love them, but they can they have that predator sense. You can still feel the slight predator in them. Their ancestors calling back. I don't know. This is my paranoia, but I have a Siamese cat, and I'll ask you this. I know you're not a pet whisperer, but what is it with a cat that wants to go and pee in every spot you sit in the house? Nobody else's spots, but yours. If you got any insight on that, I'd love to know. And
I'm a dog dad. I can't answer for cats.
Oh, I love her to death. She's the cuddliest, cutest, nicest cat. Great with children. But the one thing is she's gone I've had to throw out recliners, every chair I had. She's peed in my spot. If she dies and comes back as a ghost, I'm going to find her ghost pee on my spot. I know it. That's what it's going to be. And I'm like, why don't you do it to my wife? Because she's the one that cleans your kitty litter. Because that was the deal when she got the cat. I'm like, I don't want a cat. I want to clean kitty litter. Like, you do it. She's the one that forgets to clean the kitty litter. But yet she goes and pees in my spots. And cat pees the worst.
That's love.
That is love. That's what my wife says. She's just telling you she loves you. I'm like, well, she needs to find another way.
Yeah, exactly.
We have about 4 more minutes. If anybody wants to call in last minute, you can. Like I said, Skype lines oojblandoo. We're going to keep talking here for a few more minutes. But if you do want to call in, this is your last chance, and then I'm shutting the line down. What do you have coming up in the future for Rob? What are you going to be doing, with the paranormal or anything? You have in a new book planned or?
I do have a new book actually that I'm working on right now. It's called Ghosts of the British Isles that I've encountered.
Ooh.
So we've gone to England, Scotland, and Ireland.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
Over the past couple of years, and everywhere we went, we encountered a dead person. So, of course, we went to a lot of the castles.
I was going to say you went to the places probably where you'd find them. Did you have some? I know I don't want you to give away too much you got coming up in the book, but did you learn some interesting stuff from these ghosts over on the other side of the continent?
I certainly did. I was actually able to figure out the identity of 2 of them, and one of them was in a bed and breakfast that we stayed at. That was a castle, Thornbury Castle, made into a bed and breakfast. Mm-hmm. And I was actually able to. When I came home, I looked him up. I got his name.
Oh, wow.
And I get names and dates, and I'm actually able to sketch out what ghosts look like.
I've seen some mediums have had that ability, and I think that's probably one of the most verifiable abilities for a medium to have is the artistic skill to draw what they see.
Well, I used to draw superheroes when I was a kid. I make my own comic books.
Me too.
Cool.
I just don't see dead people. Well, I do sometimes, but I actually have drawn some stuff that I've seen. But I know there's some famous mediums out there that were really good at what they did because they were able to put on paper what they saw. Because that's the hardest thing. A medium can describe, I'm seeing this, I'm seeing glasses, but it's nothing like a picture. It's 1,000 words right there. And I've seen people, there's some mediums that draw people's relatives that have come through to them. And those are some of the most verifiable psychic abilities to me, is that to be able to draw. Have you drawn people's past loved ones? And they're going, oh my God, that's my grandpa, or
No, I've just drawn ghosts that are in houses that we've investigated.
Do you think you might try to do that? Because to me, if I went to a medium, and then they were like, "Here, I'm going to sketch out the person relative I'm seeing," they handed over a picture of my grandmother, I'd be blown away. And I've seen evidence of mediums being able to do that. Do you think that's something you're ever going to try to do for clients? Like you're seeing, because you get like you got an image of the guy in the checkered stuff. If you try to draw that for that person,
yeah, you can do that.
Because to me that's the most verifiable thing. You can show somebody what's in your mind.
Sure.
Not a lot of mediums have that ability. So,
well, maybe I'll start doing that.
You should. No, I'm really going to encourage you to do that, because to me, there's nothing more powerful than that picture. Skeptics would go, "Oh, you could have gone on their Facebook and found a picture of somebody that's passed on." Well, I know mediums were doing this before Facebook. And if you don't know the person before they show up, you're not really going to know what to look for a relative.
Exactly.
So that could be some of the most verifiable evidence. Sorry, that when you said you drew pictures and all that, I just think of a couple different mediums I've studied over the years that had that ability. It's one of the most incredible abilities to be able to do that. So, well, thank you so much, Rob, for coming on the show. Where can we? Of course, you're available on Amazon for your books.
Yes. The 4 books are available on Amazon.com in paperback and ebook. And people can just put in Rob Gutro, Gutro, on Facebook, and they'll find one of my Facebook pages. I'm on Twitter, Ghost Medium Book, Pinterest, all those social media things that I still trying to figure out.
And your website is just robgutro.com.
Yeah, you can go to robgutro.com. Right now it redirects to my website, which is ghostsandspirits.blogspot.com. And
do you do any private readings for people?
People email me all the time, and if I get a message, I pass them on for free. I don't charge anything at all. My whole purpose is to write these books to educate people on how to recognize messages from their pets and people themselves, so they'll be able to figure out what's a sign, what's not a sign. But if they're always welcome to email me.
And I'll tell you right now, most people want somebody else to do it for them because they don't trust their own senses. And that's why they get a hold of you. But I love that you're trying to spread the word that you people can personally do this themselves. They don't need a medium to do it. Because I've had that experience. I think it's possible. I think people can communicate with their pets. So thank you so much for tonight coming on and talking about the subject. It's something I never thought I'd get to do a show on pets in the afterlife, until I had the right guest. And you were perfect. You were awesome.
Thank you so much.
A great subject. Next week, I got to think. Who do I got coming on? Next week, we have, what is the next month? I already forgot my dang schedule. I have to look to see who we got on next week. I already forgot. We don't, of course, tonight usually would be the ITC Collective show, but I rescheduled that. That won't be till February 26th. That'll be the next ITC Collective show. My next guest, hold on, let me see. Usually have it in my notes and I didn't put it up. February 5th, we have Paneet. This one I got to do some research on. I forgot. I had it on my list. I didn't put it in my notes, so I don't have any of the stuff on them. I think this is another meeting we're going to have on. Sorry. But it will be the same bat time, 10 p.m. to midnight. We'll have the Skype lines open for you to call in. I will have this week the information for our guests posted online. Sorry, I forgot to put it in my notes. Thank you, Rob. Thank you. I know Jamie D had to hop off because she was having computer problems. Thank you, Jeffrey. Thank you, Rob Autry in the other panel. And again, thank you, Rob Gutro. Butchered your name already. We got to have you on again, talk more about pets in the afterlife and more stuff you're doing in the future. You have a great night.
I have just one request. I'd like to get some rest. I travel to the edge and west. I said no for what is left. Just when times are still, my path so long there will. Never found my fill. Approach the ancient hill. Walk upon the path. Of a peak at last. Worn and weary, saw so clearly I had come the I have just one request. I'd like to get the rest. I've traveled to the edge and this. I settled for what was left. My consciousness expands through space and time and land. I see my soul depart. I found my last regret.
Like I said, I always wanted to do a show on pets in the afterlife. I'm like, I just need a good guest for it, and got this email from Rob talking about the pets in the afterlife. I was like, it's great. I get to do a show on it because my experience with my cat that I talked about tonight. That's one of those things in my life, paranormal wise, I will never forget, and it convinced me pets have souls. They're parts of our family. I believe they're around us after they die. There's nothing more, to me, more cosmic than a relationship between your pets. They're not human, but you love them just as much as you would your own child. So it's a good, heartwarming show tonight. I think that we've learned that our pets are on the other side. At least I feel that way. Thank you guys. Again, we'll see you next week. I'll have more information on our next week's guest. This is one I scheduled a long time ago, so I don't have all the information. I got to find it. Have a great night. See you next Sunday. Same bat time, same bat channel, 10 p.m. to midnight. Have a great night, guys.